man can be an artist in anything. Creasy's art is death. He's about to paint his masterpiece. Welcome to the night shift. We're doing a little daycast today, guys. We're off beat here, but we had to call in the big guns. I'm Shane Hall, joined by my brother Colin Hall and my dad, Big Poppy Clay Hall. Today, we are lighting the fuse on one of the most underrated revenge thrillers of the 2000s. We're talking Man on Fire, Denzel in Scorched Earth mode. This is one of Tony Scott's masterpieces, maximum visual chaos, Dakota Fanning's coming out party. We've got breakdowns, bold takes, action highlights, and a stack of absurd award categories to throw this thing through. Gentlemen, what are your first thoughts on this movie?
I didn't know until you told me you were going to do this review that this was a remake, that there was originally one in 1987 that was pretty popular, and I'm of an age where I would have remembered it if it was super popular, but I didn't even know about the 1987 one, and this one came out, and of course you guys know I'm in love with this movie.
Yes, you are.
For me, initial thoughts on this movie, it does remind me of Big Poppy because I think it's number one, if not a top three for him. We probably watched it 10 to 15 times, and I strictly remember something that I'll pass on to my kids is hitting pause and telling them, you know what I would do to somebody if they ever touched you? I would. And just grit your teeth. That is what this movie means to me. It's a father's love. How far would you go? Even though he's not the father, he pretty much is acting father.
I love it.
He does what any person in that role would want to do, and he brings it to life. So it's a special movie.
It is, man. It's great. And it's chaotic. I mean, just the way that they shot it. We'll get into that in a little bit. But this came out in 2004. It was, I guess, the end of my freshman year in high school. So peak, I'm still staying at home with my dad, and we got to find something awesome to watch time. And this is just one of those where, and these are our favorite kinds of movies, ones where I don't need to think a whole lot. This is turn off your brain and let the main character take you on this adventure. Any vengeance movie I'm in on, but when you have an actor like Denzel finally taking on a role like this, it's freaking awesome, man.
You know, here's another little trivia, Shane, that Tony Scott had not originally cast Denzel in the role. He hadn't filled the role yet, and they happened to run into each other at a doctor's appointment, and they were there in the lobby waiting to go in, and Tony Scott started telling him about the movie and got Denzel interested. Denzel kind of confessed that he was getting bored with acting. This is 2004.
Yeah.
He hasn't done all the other great things that he's done since then, but he said he was bored with acting until this movie. It got him on fire, so to speak.
That's pretty damn cool. So Tony Scott had been trying to make this movie for like 20 years prior to this. And, one of the segments that we do on the show is talk about casting what ifs and alternative universes where other guys would have been able to play this role. There's, you know what? Screw it. We'll just jump into it.
It's my favorite part.
They had talked about Robert Duvall playing this role for a period.
Wait,
he's old now, but he was in Godfather. He was in.
He was the consigliere in Godfather.
Okay.
He's in
Sonny?
The Judge. He's usually now he's in a bunch of comedies. He's like the old grouchy dad, or grandfather.
They were talking about him being Denzel?
Yeah.
I saw another one. It was supposed to be De Niro.
De Niro was also on the list. I think it's just the time. So he started trying to make this movie in like 1987, and people were just like, not really into it. Tony Scott, I don't think he's any longer with us, but his brother Ridley Scott is the one that you see most of the director stuff for now. All those Ridley Scott movies, Gladiator and all that. But yeah, but Tony was great director in his own time. This movie came out in 2004. Main cast is Denzel, Dakota Fanning, Christopher Walken, Mark Anthony, and Mickey Rourke. And the budget was 60 to 70 million. Box office 130 million.
Wow, that's it.
That was it.
Wow.
Now, at the same time this movie came out, we had Passion of the Christ, we had Kill Bill Volume 2, and we had The Bourne Supremacy.
Okay.
It might have gotten overshadowed by Bourne. Passion, I can remember back then, I don't know, 15. Passion had like a whole world unto its own of people talking about it at that time. But this is still a time where you go to the movies and everything was an event. Like you're going to the movie theater, get the tickets, let's rock and roll. Most of the success that this found was in DVD sales afterwards. Cold status followed because other people were just like us, where they're like, this movie is fucking awesome. So you go to Rotten Tomatoes, the critics have it as a 38%. Audience has it at 89%. So big middle finger to the critics.
Yeah.
What
did they rated it on? The lighting in Mexico or something?
I'm sure they did. They called it overly stylized and grim, but audiences cheering in theaters when the bad guys got theirs. So it's not like people in
a soundtrack to this thing.
Yeah. I have it on my phone and in my Apple Music library.
It's awesome, man. So for those that haven't seen the movie or they need a refresher on the plot, a burned out ex-assassin, John Creasy, played by our boy Denzel, is hired to protect a little girl named Pita, aka Dakota Fanning, in Mexico City. When she's kidnapped, he becomes a one-man vengeance machine, taking out every corrupt official and cartel member in his path. But underneath the carnage is a redemptive arc built on love, guilt, and sacrifice. So that's the plot. It's goddamn, it's good. So Denzel's coming off of winning the Oscar for Training Day, and he's riding this wave of prestige meets popcorn rolls. Man on Fire just proved he could do fucking anything. He can play the bad guy, he can play the good guy. And some of his other roles, like Training Day is probably the first one where he was a bad guy, but this is probably the first role that I can think of for Denzel, at least in my Rolodex of movies that I have for him, where he's the anti-hero. Denzel is just, he's a fucking anchor, man. Anytime that he is on the screen, he's got my full attention. It doesn't matter what he's doing, but when he's kicking ass and taking names and has virtually no help doing it, it's even better because it's
I don't know the exact sequence of this, but up until this movie, I don't remember him in any kind of action like where he's, very, very violent and physical. Even in Training Day, he really was. And he's always been a wonderful actor and a guy that could play lots of roles. But in here, you saw Dark Side, Book of Eli, The Equalizer. All of those sort of kind of came after this, where he showed that he can really bring it and really like the idea that he's an assassin or a CIA guy. That sort of starts to come to life after this one, and he just fell right into it.
100%, man. This is more of like I'm going to expand my horizon here and show people that I can do shit that they've never seen me do on screen. And frankly, I haven't seen anybody else do on screen prior to this. I mean, he literally duct taped a guy's hand to a steering wheel and cut his fingers off.
Yeah, he got the American Alpha Dad Award.
Yeah, you just don't see that in these movies. Like now you do because it's like everybody's trying to shock you and do all that stuff. But everything he does is...
But if you saw it today, you'd see it like a B actor on Netflix.
Yes.
You wouldn't see an A-lister who you're used to seeing in a movie like Philadelphia. Where taking your heart away is a lawyer who's saving a guy with AIDS. 10 years later, he's cutting off their fingers and pronouncing in Spanish correctly as he gets ready to kill him.
Yes.
That was amazing.
I wonder how much he studied Spanish for this.
Well, in Training Day, he speaks Spanish well. Dude, he's like the one guy where he can be a black guy, a white guy, and a Spanish guy at the same time. Like, I can't pin him down. Like, he is one of those chameleons.
Yeah.
Well, that's the sign of a great actor, man. He can morph into anything that he wants to. So Dakota Fanning, she's only 9 years old during this filming. And at the time, I remember thinking, this is the greatest child actor I've ever seen.
Ever of all time.
Ever.
I mean, there is one guy who I think could compete.
You talking
the
Macaulay?
Kid from Sixth Sense.
Oh, my God. Haley Joel Osment.
That Dakota Fanning, when they started filming, she was so young, she didn't even have her front teeth in for part of the filming. And they literally were going to put fake teeth in, and they decided, they could go back in and refilm some scenes where her teeth weren't all the way in.
Yeah. Well, they did it, man.
She was amazing.
I don't think there's been a performance by anybody else since then that has bested this one.
I think that's right for modern, but you got to remember, like Jodie, like Foster was once a child actress.
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio was like a 9-year-old
Oh,
doing things. Yeah.
okay. All right. I'm gonna have to disagree respectfully with you and tag along to Shane. I don't see any competition. It was the best kid role in my opinion.
She was amazing. Yeah. For what they asked her to do. It wasn't a comedy role. This was like hard.
So we have Tony Scott, who we mentioned earlier, also directed Top Gun, directed Enemy of the State, directed Crimson Tide.
Yep.
There's more to his Rolodex, but this was the one that was far and away the most stylized and aggressive phase of his career. And like I said, he was obsessed with the making of this movie. He tried to direct it in the Ace after this movie is actually based on a book written by A.J. Quinnell. He was turned down for not being experienced enough at the time, which led to him taking Top Gun instead. So I would say, he did all right. He kept coming back to this material until he finally got this thing greenlit, 20 years down the line. What do you think about the way it was shot?
Love it. I love the music. I love the scenery, the mix of raw, like what appears to be raw footage at times with grainy film and other times, normal cinema. It pulled me in because it seemed like they were filming, like somebody was filming this while it was happening. And that just and the plot was just amazing to me.
Yeah, I like the bedroom scenes where Creasy goes and his demons come out. I thought those shots were amazing where he keeps loading up the gun and you can see him contemplating and he's drinking. And then being in actual Mexico City was awesome because it made it real. And everybody, especially Americans, have this thought of, oh, it's so dangerous over there. So I think shooting it there, having the real scenes of what he's going through all pulls together and brings you in kind of as like you're there feeling it with them. So I thought the shooting was really good, and especially the action scenes seemed really realistic too. I don't know much about shooting and angles and stuff like that, but for me it was really believable.
So he used 6 different types of film, including reversal stock and hand cranked cameras to try and create this chaotic, emotionally heightened aesthetic.
Okay.
So he wanted the viewers to feel Creasy's unraveling psyche is why he filmed it that way. And most of the scenes were shot with 3 to 4 cameras rolling simultaneously, which kind of allowed them to improvise or stay in the moment, especially like the Denzel and Dakota scenes. And that's part of why their chemistry feels so natural, because they just kept rolling and kept rolling and kept rolling and just let them do their thing.
Shane, I also know, because I did a little research, that Denzel and Christopher Walken and Denzel and Dakota, half of all their scenes were ad-libbed live. And to your point with the cameras rolling and rolling, they just kept going. And they had like a framework of dialogue, what they wanted to accomplish. But you can imagine a master like Christopher Walken and somebody like Denzel. They just made it up on the fly and it worked great. And then there's this young 9-year-old and you're thinking, well, she couldn't do that, but she did.
She did. She did it damn well too. Even the scene that sticks out. I mean, there's so many of them that she does that are great, but I love it when they're sitting down, they're at Christopher Walken's house having a party. And I think this is as good a time as any, and gives him a gift that she had saved up for and bought for him. And that was probably, I mean, he had started having feelings for her before that, but that just cemented it for him. Like, oh my God, somebody finally feels love for me again. Like he hadn't had that. And it's just a really beautifully shot thing. And knowing that they ad-libbed a bunch of this stuff, it makes it feel real and authentic, and it's just so damn cool. I don't know how I feel about the way that it was shot, because I haven't seen any other movies shot similar to this. So, I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe somebody else tried something like this, but it's very unique to this film. And sometimes it's a little harder to follow, and sometimes I wish it was more of like a traditional style, like a Den of Thieves or a John Wick or something like that, where it's just, your basic movie. But I think that's also kind of what makes it stand out a bit, is that you remember, shit, this one, not only is the story awesome, but the way they filmed it was so different than how things usually are filmed. And Dad, you talked about this offline. Filming took place in Mexico City, where real world kidnapping, the whole epidemic, was actually going on during
it was happening
the making
during the movie.
Yeah.
The mom of PETA, she had 4 to 6 bodyguards with her at all times, and two of her bodyguards got kidnapped.
Oh my
All
God.
of the actors had to stay together, and they were under constant threat of kidnapping. And another little tidbit, the movie, there's 2 brothers, right? Aurelio and the voice, right? That's who are the
Daniel.
bad guys. They are real people. Those were real people in the 70s who the book was written about.
Wow.
What they did, they kind of created the kidnapping business, and so that's what they were based on in the movie as well. It was really, really creepy when you do a little bit of research, and the actors there making the movie in Mexico City were actually under threat of kidnapping the entire time.
Dude, the production team had to travel in armored vehicles the whole time. It was no joke, man. They were not effing around. That's part of I guarantee you half the budget went to security. There's no other way to make a movie. The book is not, I don't think that the book or the previous film were set in Mexico City. I think they were set in Italy. But Tony Scott was like, I don't find that as believable as if we were to go down to Mexico City. Mexico City, it's actually happening there. Take some balls, man, to take the whole crew down there and say, hey, I'm going to film this right where it's happening. Can you imagine if they were doing, I guess, I don't know, that's probably why we like The Wire so much, because they just filmed that shit right in the heart of Baltimore, right where it was all going down.
Yeah, Sopranos too, Jersey.
Yeah. So,
Shane, can I say one thing? The one thing that I was trying to get into earlier, where you were talking about how they made the shots kind of in an unraveling emotional capture of what he's going through. But I think the cool part about this movie is it's not only, at first, it's Denzel fighting for his own life, his own purpose. He's going through depression. And then once PETA comes along, you can see the change in his brain. Now I've got to fight for her life. And it gives him purpose again. And as an audience member, you're like, you feel so connected to this guy because you see him dying, literally killing himself. And then now he has a reason. And it's like every movie nowadays where like John Wick and stuff, they try to do that with a dog or maybe a loved one, but they did an amazing job of not merely making it vengeance as much as I found my purpose now. And her giving him the gift and everything, it was just the most emotionally capturing.
It's so good. Denzel, he's just a master at making you feel everything that his character is going through. And there's several scenes in that first hour. The first hour is a little slow because it's leading up to all the action. The second half is him kicking ass, taking names. But that first hour is all about his backstory and building that relationship with PETA. And to see him, like you said, depressed on the brink of death and trying to kill himself. And then this little girl is the only thing that she pulls him out of it. And he finds a purpose again. And the whole time he's chatting with Walken and stuff. Do you ever think that God's going to forgive us for what we've done? And he said, no. So it just gives you context. He's had a hard life and done some bad things, maybe for a good reason, because the character doesn't strike me as somebody doing bad stuff just for the hell of it. It's just, they do a great job at capturing the emotional appeal. You mentioned the soundtrack, that Una Palabra.
Yeah, no.
That was originally not part of the score.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but Tony Scott discovered it while he was scouting Cuban music and insisted that it be added. And it became probably the most emotional, resonant moment of the film.
I heard it like 30 times, obviously. When it's at the end and they're hugging on the bridge and he says, I'm going to the Blue Bayou, and the music starts up when he gets in the car, I'm ready to cry 30 out of 30 times. Because the music is perfect, the scenery, the lighting, like you were talking about with the film types, it just pulled me right into that back seat with him. And I'm thinking we're going off to our death now, but we finally found a purpose. And I did one last good thing. And that's why he was okay with it. He could have fought it, but he was okay with it.
Yeah. Well, he fought it the whole goddamn movie. I've never seen anybody get shot in movies like this and just keep going. Like, it didn't even, there was a couple of times where he shot and he just kept moving. I'm like, oh my God.
I think it
But
goes,
because it's Denzel, I'm like, well, maybe.
I think it goes back to, and I listened to a couple podcasts where there's SEALs I've heard talk about this. It's a lot easier when you already think you're dead. And I think he was already dead in his mind. If I bleed out, so be it, whatever. And he just keeps pushing on. But the una palabra, one word, no dice nada, don't say anything. I forget what it is after that, but I remember playing it to the Spanish guys, and they all knew the song at my last job or 2 jobs ago. It's like a famous song, but I forget what the whole catch is, but it's just so beautiful. One word, you don't need to say anything. But like, what's that word if you don't need to say anything? It's kind of confusing. But
I'm speculating it's probably something about love. Like,
yeah,
yeah. Dakota trained with a swim coach for weeks leading up to the filming to make sure that her scenes felt authentic. Her dedication impressed the director and Denzel, who both said that she raised the bar for everyone else on the set. And even Denzel's wife was like, honey, you're going to need to freaking bring it because this girl has got it. She ain't playing. So he said several times his wife approached him like, how was work today? Well, did you get your ass kicked by a little girl on camera? It's pretty cool.
I love those scenes because he's like, no, do it again. I need you to hear it before I even pull it. And that's when you go. It's like, man, that was an amazing scene.
Back to how many things we did.
Yes.
With lacrosse, basketball, soccer, football, just like he was right there, Colin. Your point was right. He was being a parent to her.
Yes.
When her parents weren't being it for at least this context.
Mm-hmm.
Cheering her on.
The parents were pretty goddamn absent in this movie. And as the movie goes, you see the dad's actually a piece of shit.
Yes.
And the mom is not, but also is trying to live the life of, taken domestic housewife. You know what I mean? Just like she's a kept woman. I have to go to the salon. I got to do this. I got to do that to try and, I'm guessing, keep up with the social scene in Mexico City. But they don't seem interested in what the daughter's doing at all. So, and I think he picks that up and takes on.
She's a piece of shit in her own way because although she doesn't, effectively hurt her daughter, she keeps her in a situation with an absent dad in a very dangerous city just so she can keep this life of stay-at-home mom. And she doesn't even do most of the momming. They've had bodyguard after bodyguard. She does lessons. She does this. She's kind of just doing the bare minimum. And I think that's kind of glossed over because if she really, really, really loved her, she would be away from that guy, living somewhere safe.
She seemed to fall much more in love with her daughter after she was kidnapped.
Yes.
Than beforehand.
Yes.
And, when Denzel figures it out, and Creasy comes back to the house and the mom and dad are there. One of the questions you had is, what's unbelievable? And I thought about some of the deaths and the killing. The only unbelievable thing to me was that he let the dad kill himself. I would have put a bullet right through his face the second he admitted that he set up the kidnapping. Yep. And I don't care that he killed Mickey Rourke.
Yep.
I don't care that he went back and got even with him. You did this whole thing because you were a greedy F-bomb and you put your kid out there? My God, dude. I don't care who you are. If you were my wife, I'd blow your head right off.
Sociopath.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. That is like the one scene I'm like, God, I wish we could redo that one because I don't like it. I want Creasy to end it right then and there. Kind of like, you guys seen The Accountant?
Yeah.
Okay. At the very end with Lithgow and Affleck, Lithgow's like, what are you guys doing? Blah, blah, blah. And then Affleck's autistic assassin is just like, boop. Yeah. Just shot him up right there, shot him right in the forehead. Like, I wish that was the ending for Mark Anthony's character.
He got a little too cute with, showing him the bullet and saying, hey, it didn't do anything for me. Maybe it'll work for you. That was a little bit too cute considering they didn't have PETA back and it wasn't okay. And he was on a rampage of killing and he finally finds where it all started. I mean, come on, man. You can't stop on that guy.
No. And in fact, it's the fact that he had the bullet. If he was unarmed or anything like that, like, I get it. Maybe he's just tired, dude. He's like, I don't have it in me today for this.
The thought was he didn't want the guilt for PETA just knowing that he killed her dad. I don't really,
Yeah.
I mean, he shouldn't care,
But
but
at that
maybe
point, they
that's in
think
his
Pete is
head.
dead. They think Pete is dead.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe he didn't, but that's one of the scenes I would want to change. The Creasy Peta bond off camera. They actually built a real friendship during the filming. They'd play games and ping pong between takes. She beat him in everything except for ping pong, apparently. But that I don't know how much you guys know about acting. Obviously, I don't know a ton, but in all the research and all the stuff I hear from actors, it's like you'll do like a couple scenes for a few minutes, and then it's like hours of sitting around.
Yeah, I've
There's
seen that.
not a whole lot to do. Alternate ending. The original ending had a less sacrificial twist for Creasy, but test audiences preferred the more emotional, bittersweet resolution that we see in the final cut. So I'm guessing he just killed everybody and then goes off into the sunset.
Yeah, versus him already dying and finishing it out. I don't know. Let's go back one other thing about relationships. You get one guess at who nobody liked working with.
I already know.
And like everybody got along but this one guy was a tool and nobody wanted to work with him and they didn't talk to him outside of the filming.
Mickey frickin' Rourke.
Yep. Everybody hated him. And Christopher Walken almost decided, I'm not even going to stay in this movie if this guy keeps it up.
What's he even
Yeah,
famous
he's a
for?
notorious pain in the ass. Dude, he was famous as hell in the 80s. And he's had a resurgence lately. He's the dad in Warriors.
Okay.
He's in a lot of stuff, man, like a lot of stuff. But he's also had a lot of work done. He's on
steroids out the
Yeah.
wazoo, human growth hormone.
It's unpleasant, man. He's
Anybody with the name
notoriously
Mickey,
difficult.
I just don't trust. Sorry, Mickey. I just think
Well,
that's.
I think the tension is no matter what he thinks he is Denzel. He doesn't see himself as
Yeah.
Mickey Rourke. He sees himself as
For
I'm the
apex
fucking star.
supporting actor. That's the best you'll ever be is
Yes.
a role player in there. Savor that because otherwise you'd be a janitor.
What was his big movie in the 80s? Was it 48 Hours?
No, it was 9.5 weeks.
Okay.
And it was like he was the leading man and it was very, very sexual, a lot of like nudity and sex scenes. And it was with like, I think Kim Basinger at the time. So he was this guy who thought he was going to be Richard Gere for the next 30 years. And he literally like fell off the map after that. And for a while, he was going to be a professional boxer. And he got his ass whipped when it was an actual athlete. They just tore him up in 3 seconds. And it wasn't filming. It was real competition. And he got lit up.
Is it Van Damme?
No, he got in a boxing match with an actual boxer. And he said, I've been training for these movies and I could do this. And so he got in a boxing match and he got destroyed. And that's when he was like, okay, I got to start working out. And then he literally like just super freak on the roids.
And he's in Iron Man.
Yeah.
Like he's in a bunch of stuff. The Wrestler, like he's in a lot of recent stuff, but in the recent stuff, he's usually like a grouchy old fuck. Not that dissimilar from Robert Duvall, but Duvall's like a good actor.
Yes.
Yeah, he was a pain in the ass. I did read that. In early development, producers considered De Niro, Marlon Brando for Creasy. Sergio Leone was even approached to direct it in the 80s, and Tony Scott had previously pitched the idea with Duvall as Creasy before Denzel came on board. That's such a cool story, though, about them just meeting in a freaking doctor's office. You wonder how many movies like that's what ends up happening is like these guys just run into each other and they're like, fuck it, let's make a movie, man.
You know who Tony Scott had done a movie with and his brother eventually did another movie with that he thought would be good for the role and he wanted him and the guy said no.
Crowe.
Yeah, Russell Crowe.
I could see that.
Russell Crowe may have been pretty good in this role if you think about, obviously we know Denzel did it, but Russell Crowe might have been great at that time. I don't know. He was so good in Gladiator.
Yeah.
But I couldn't see anybody topping Denzel the way with the emotional connection. And Colin, you're totally right. When all those scenes when he's in the room battling his own demons, that's a plot. That's like part of the story that makes you fall in love with the character because he knows he's not pure. He knows he's done things. He's racked with guilt. He's totally depressed. And, that's the big setup for his life turnaround. That's a lot of range for like 60 minutes.
Yeah.
And I just don't know that. I'm sure other actors could do it, but I don't know if they do it better than him.
You have a hard time convincing me anybody's going to be better than Denzel at whatever character he decides he's behind and wants to play.
Yeah.
He's a top 2 or 3 actor in my book, and ever. Like, I just don't see anybody doing. He's had some bum roles, every actor has, but I just don't see people being able to pull off what he pulls off in the amount of time that he has. And he's so goddamn charming too. That's what makes the relationship with PETA seem real. Is that remember the scene where they're smiling, then don't first one to smile loses, then she smiles and he smirks and she's like, see, you did that. Like, dude, I can't see Crow doing that. I can't see these other guys doing that. And because they're able to
Yes.
mesh like that, it's just.
You could envision other people being the killer and doing a great job.
Yes.
But not also like the guy who went from, I'm not here to be your friend, sit back there and be quiet.
Exactly.
To Creasy Bear, all in like 30 minutes. And, getting out and talking to the nun and saying, what he says to the nun and kind of like the foreshadowing that I'm the one that God forgot about and I'm not savable. And she's like, of course you are. And for her, it's every day she's used to seeing people who have troubles in their life and can be saved. And for him, it's like, no, not me. It's bad. And she just smiles and is like, well, let's see how it goes.
Yep. Yeah. It's great foreshadowing.
I'm trying to think of anybody else. I just can't. I mean, the only one I can think of that comes close is Mel Gibson, but even then, he's not charming.
I mean, there's a bunch of guys.
Mel Gibson, maybe.
A young Mel could probably pull it off, honestly. Is he as charming and disarming as Denzel? No. But there's a thing. There's a lot of guys that can do the rage and revenge. There's a lot of guys that can do charming. There's just not a lot that can do both. And certainly not in the same movie for the same character.
I don't think.
So they cast it perfectly.
Oh, I got one.
God.
Sorry.
I swear to God, if you say freaking Danny DeVito.
No, there's one guy who I think could do it, but not in 2004. Tom Hardy.
Yeah, maybe. He's got the same. Now, he doesn't have, I don't think, the depth, but he's got enough of it that he's believable and enough other scenes. It would be hard to see him like bonding with this kid, but I see all the other parts and he could go dark in 30 seconds and believe that.
Listen, I'm watching. Don't get me wrong. He plays dark very well. I don't know about charming with a 9-year-old kid though.
Yeah.
I don't know. The book series has a bunch of sequels where he survives and Creasy survives and continues to work as a vigilante for hire, but Scott didn't want to do that for this. But it did make me think, if you were to do a sequel for this movie, what do you do? Because Creasy's dead.
You could do, I don't know that you could do a sequel. I guess you could, because Creasy didn't have relatives either. It's not like his kid could become something like that. Maybe something happens to PETA, the way that they did in The Equalizer, where, there's a daughter of his really close mentor who he avenges in The Equalizer and eventually befriends her daughter. But I don't know what you could do in this one. He didn't have kids, and neither did Christopher Walken. So you could carry on the story, but it'd have to be all new characters, I think.
I think it's either that or PETA uses this as some kind of launching pad to become an assassin of her own. And then you have, chick assassin killing kidnappers. But, there's not that many avenues for it that would actually work and not be a straight to DVD concept, All right, let's get into best scenes. Big Papi, I'll let you go first. Do you got a favorite scene?
Of course, the one I quote most often is what you led the show with, which is Christopher Walken describing what a man can be an artist. That's probably the one I quote the most, but the one I think of that really, like, immediately every time I watch it, it gets my heart racing and I get a little chill, is when he finally catches the first guy and he gets him in the car and he takes him up on the bluff and does the duct tape on the hands, and he immediately sets the tone with, I'm back in business. This is what I do. And so you're going to give me the names. And for him, it's just business. He's not all freaked out. He's clearly done some of this before.
I got time. You don't.
Exactly. And so for me, that's the scene. There's many great scenes, but that's the one that really probably stands out as my favorite scene in the movie is the very first act of vengeance after he's well enough and he gets all the ammo and he starts getting intelligence and he gets him up on the hill and that's it.
Yeah. Dad, when he
It's a
checks his
great
watch and
scene.
he's like, oh, I got time. You don't. My favorite scene is the nightclub with the sawed-off shotgun.
That's
And
a
he
great
gets
one.
Jersey Boy up there,
Yep.
ties him
You're
up.
from Jersey? I'm from Jersey.
Cool. Okay. Boom. There goes it.
El Nino, and
Now
he's
tell me
ready
how
to
it goes
blast
down.
her away.
I know
But
he
she
doesn't
says, no, I
care.
have the girl. And of course, it's a different girl. And that's when you start seeing another layer of like, he could have wasted that lady and he didn't. But that was a great scene. A great scene.
You got the kidnapping scene. He drops her off at a piano lesson, tells her to belch because she doesn't want to do piano lessons. She said, this guy he'll be super offended if you do this. So just keep doing it. And he hears her doing it and he starts kind of giggling to himself. And then he sees the car pull up. And then all of a sudden it's like shit. And he starts getting ready. Peeta's leaving the teacher's house and he shoots the gun up in the air just like the swim meet and tells her to run. And the next thing you know, it's a shootout. And he gets popped right away, right in the freaking left breast, and just doesn't phase him at all. Boom, boom, boom. Takes out like 3 guys. Peeta runs, but then she doesn't keep running. She runs back because she sees him hit.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my God, I feel it. I feel that girl because that's her protector. She wants to make sure that he's okay. But at the same time, like, dude, freaking, I get the pull of Creasy, but he's gonna die and you're gonna get taken, or you could have just kept running. It's a tough decision to make. I get it. But the way that they shot that, and then the only thing I don't understand is why didn't these guys kill him when they,
I think they thought they did.
maybe,
Dude,
but wouldn't you
they
just
hit
do
him more than once.
right in the face? Like, I
I
don't know.
think, dude, they hit him a few times and he went down and they got to get out of there because they are cops. And so they got to get out of there with the kid before more cops come and you can't put it all under. That brings me to an unheralded actor, the supporting actor, the detective. He
Oh
is
yeah,
such a great player in that movie. He just made it awesome, man.
he was great, man. He was a great, him and the reporter chick
Yep.
who just happened to be sleeping together. So there's your sex scene. Every movie needs one, but they were great in this,
Yeah.
and they were his kind of lifeline outside of Walken, who set him up with some guy that gave him more weapons than you could possibly imagine. The weapon scene was great, just him loading up a bag of all the stuff. Every action, I don't know where these guys exist, but every action movie has them where there's just some guy that has like a secret basement or a secret room in some store. He's like, all right, let me pull back the tarp. And it's just everything illegal that you could possibly think of. I don't know where they exist.
I'm sure they do, though. I mean, funny, I hadn't thought about it till you just brought it up. That's the last scene with Christopher Walken is when he sets up the buy for all the ammo and he's like, I told you I'm done with that. And Creasy's like, yeah, I know, but I'm not. And he sets him up. We don't see Christopher Walken again because he tells that police officer he's going to war, and that's that. And you better just stay out of the way. That's another really good scene. Not just the part I always mimic, but the best thing you can do is just stay out of the way. He'll do the rest.
You just tag the bodies when they come to you, and that's it. Be done. Then you got the car bomb confession scene. I wish you had more time.
Yep.
Sticks a bomb in this guy's ass. Have never seen that before.
No.
And he had him standing there in his underwear, spread eagle on the hood of the car. And the guys, they're just having a chat then. And he's like, well, I have time. You don't.
Mm-hmm.
And he just, no. It's just business. It's just business. Yes, I know. It's just business for me. You'll give me more names and you'll lead me to the next guy. And they keep thinking that he's going to back down because of the circle, La Onda. And he's like, nope, I don't care where it takes me.
I'll kill them all.
I love when he's like, I keep hearing that it's just business. It's just business. Just business.
There's a scene where he goes back to the house and looks at the Creasy bear, and he's in Dakota's room, and the mom is there, and the mom is, I guess, trying to see how he's doing or whatever, and then he basically tells her, I'm killing all of them," and she says, "Yes, please do, kill them all." That scene I enjoyed because he gets the Creasy bear, and there's some rumors on the internet about those two actually hooking up
Yeah, there was a
And-
weird tension.
in an alternative shoot. Like there's a supposedly a scene that was cut from it with those two getting together.
Really?
But yeah. So there is weird.
I'd hate to see that.
Radha Mitchell bringing it. She's great, man. I will say though, she's not necessarily a weak link of the film, but she is in my poking holes category because she changes accents like 6 times in the movie.
She
If you
does.
pay attention.
Plus,
She's
like half the movie, 3/4, she's a tramp. And all she wants to be is a socialite in Mexico. And then her kids, "Get the fuck out of my house." You know, you're freaking out all of a sudden. You just paid attention to your kid for the first time. She's 9. And now you're all upset she's gone. And I felt like, you know, an ending could have been, shit, Creasy and the girl take off and leave the mom with the kidnappers.
Mhm.
God, that would have been great. You know
Yeah.
what? I'd make that trade.
Yeah.
Take her. She's the one that's got the money anyways. So,
She
take
is
her.
the weak link, Shane, in the cat thing. I mean, like, F that. Even Mark Anthony was a really good actor.
He
and
was.
just a piece of shit in the movie. Even if he, in his mind, had a reason. Of course, I would have killed him on sight if it was my own kid. But Radha Mitchell, she's right there with him. I would have stagged her too.
Yes.
Yeah. You ever had a relationship with somebody that wasn't a child of yours where if something like this happened, you would go Creasy mode?
I could see myself feeling it's not exactly a relationship, because I think Creasy would have done it for if he saw a kid taken and he didn't know him. The fact that he had this with her and he had those skills, maybe he wouldn't go all out military like he did. You know, that no relation to me at all. Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a hard one because that bond is what might drive you beyond the realm of reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have once before.
Go ahead.
Neighbor of a first girlfriend, and she had said she was at a party and she locked herself in a room. There was a bunch of creepy guys and they were banging on the door and I could hear in the background, and I asked for a location and I drove there and there was a bunch of tough guys at the front, probably 4 years younger than me. And I went through the entire party, knocked on the door. She was like, "Get away, go away." And I unlocked it once she knew it was me and carried her out. And there was a bunch of guys yelling shit at me and just got her in the car and took her home.
And she was a kid at the party?
Yeah, she was 9th grade and it was like a senior party.
Okay.
But yeah, I did that. And yeah, I felt really good because I felt like Creasy in that moment. Like, yeah, I will kill all of you here and I don't care. And it felt really, really good.
That's cool.
That's a good question, Biggs. You?
I mean, I think there's people that you meet in your life that aren't related to you, but you develop some kind of a connection with them that feels like family. And, sometimes they're coworkers, sometimes it's friends, sometimes it's teammates. I can't speak on a specific instance where I've ever gone to this length, but yeah, I think it's possible for me. See somebody that, is not blood, but
I saw a kid or a woman being damaged or threat of damage or, the scenario you said, Colin, that's a trigger. And if I know I could do something, and now I'm a little bit older and my memories are that I was much stronger, faster, and more awesome than I was. But if it was within my power, even if it was out of bounds, and I would do that for someone who was being taken advantage of and getting harmed, especially not just like a verbal bullying, like a real physical danger. Yeah, I would do something.
It's 2025 seems like it's a hard year to do that stuff in, but I think it's the right thing. And I don't think you can let social pressures keep you from doing the right thing. And that's something that we seem to be missing. Let's get back to scenes. Let's do, he finds Aurelio and goes up to this nasty ass fucking hut.
Villa,
whatever the hell you want to call it. Finds the Voice's wife and brother and all their little offspring running around, which makes you think, what kind of piece of shit does kidnapping for a living and has a family of their own?
And they're sitting on like hundreds of thousands of dollars and like just sitting on the cash, and they're living in this shit box.
I don't get it. But he goes in and he gets this little asshole, and he gets hurt along the way. He gets shot because he's not paying attention and gets shot by this little rat. Finally gets the wife to call the voice and says, "Oh, you want your brother back? I got your brother." And he says, "Well, I've got the girl." And he said, "What do you mean you got the girl? Peter's dead." She's like, "No, she's alive. I'm a businessman. I'm a professional. She's alive." He goes, "Okay, if she's alive, I need proof of life. You hang up, you ask her, what's the name of her bear? And then you call me back." So he calls back and he says, "Creasy, it's the Creasy bear." And then he knows, shit, she is alive. "All right, you want your brother? That's fine. Here, I'll put your brother on the phone." Brother grabs the phone and Denzel shoots his hand off.
Yep.
Just hard as a mofo. And then I can't remember sequentially if that is before or after the brother tried to escape. Maybe it's after the brother tried to escape and he drags him back up the house. And the whole freaking town is there watching. And almost like couldn't tell if they were like upset or if they were cheering him on.
They were cheering. They knew who he is. They're just afraid of him too.
Yeah. So they're rooting for this dude to get his what he's got coming to him, and such a good scene. So he sets up the swap, basically. I'll give you me, I'll give you a life for a life. You give me your life, I'll give you hers. And then it sets up that final scene where
the first
Caesar
part of that negotiation was a life for a life. I'll give you your brother, you give me PETA. And then somehow it turned into you get your brother back and me, and then we get PETA.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I don't know
somehow it escalated to 2 for 1.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't know how that happened because that's what I thought originally when I first watched it. So I was like, all right, well, he gives him the brother and then he'll get PETA back, get stitched up, he'll be fine. But no, they just, the way that they went about it, I didn't see that happening, but fucking A. So you get that final scene where they pull up under this bridge and you see the cars parked. Denzel's got Tramp Mama with him, and Daniel, I don't even know if the voice showed up to it, but at least a bunch of the thugs are there, gunned up, ready to go. And then you see PETA step out of the car, and she's sprinting towards him, and she's not screaming "mommy," she's screaming "Creasy," and that's like breaks your heart. Oh my God. And for him too. And then they have their little final conversation. He kneels down to hug her and can't believe that she's actually fucking alive, and he gets to hold her one more time, and he knows he's dead. He knows he's dying, and he's held on just long enough to say goodbye and make sure that she gets back. He said, "You run to your mother and don't look back. Run." And she listens this time, goes to the mom, and he walks off with these guys. And I kind of was like, I'm kind of okay with it because he knew he's going to fucking die anyways. So he's like, it's not really a 2 for 1, I guess, because it's really going to be a 1 for 1 because I'm dying either way. But this way I can at least make sure that she's safe.
I know. I just wanted an ending where he was alive.
I know.
And, that I don't know that would have been as gripping as it was because, to your point, he already been shot like 3 weeks earlier. He got shot the first time. Now he took another one, and this one's going to get him. And you see those laser sights on him when he's on the bridge waiting for PETA. Yeah. They were saying, "Bro, you're coming with us one way or the other."
Yep. One way or another, you're getting got. Like, how many times do you think he had been shot in his life? You see him get shot, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times in this movie. The hands, he had those bumps all over his hands and scars and stuff, which makes me think he got shot or cut up or tortured or something. Fucking machine, man. And there's guys out there that are like that are just like, yeah, I've gotten stabbed 7 times. I've gotten shot 8 times. I just am always fascinated by guys that can survive death that many times when it's your average person can't do that shit.
Yeah.
Best lines. What are your favorite lines?
Well, probably a man can be an artist. It doesn't matter. You can paint. That one. And then, the I got time, you don't. I can't really think of any others that really hit me.
I loved forgiveness is between them and God. It's my job to arrange the meeting.
Yeah. That is nice.
That one has some significance because Norman Schwarzkopf, the Desert Storm general, also said the same thing. And they're not sure who said it first between the movie and Schwarzkopf.
Like he took it from the movie?
It's a great line, man. It makes, like, Denzel is very, for at least a Hollywood guy, he's pretty damn religious. And I feel like the Bible pops up in 90% of his movies. Go ahead.
What I was going to say was that brings me to a point where him dying in the end may be needed because it's one of the ways that a person with a lot of sins can make it into heaven is through martyrdom. And maybe that's it. Because it is a life for a life, but he's also, now maybe he has a chance.
Yeah, maybe.
He was grasping onto that cross in his final moments.
Yeah, he was. Slips between his fingers, and that's how you know he's dead.
Yep.
Dad, you got any other lines?
I don't think so. You guys hit on the best ones. And mostly, you start getting the chills. I repeat sometimes when he's getting ready to kill that first guy again in the car and he's lit him a cigarette and he's like speaking Spanish to him.
Yep.
And here's the guy, háblame a los guardianes. And the guy is like, no, you didn't say it right. And he says it in Spanish. And he's like, you're going to correct my pronunciation? Is your hands are on the steering wheel. I've already cut off 2 fingers, and you're correcting the way I say the guardianes. So that one I kind of got a chuckle out of because just to the ironic part of it is this guy's going to die, and he knows it now. He's like burned his ear off. He's got all these things wrong, and he's correcting his pronunciation of the next people that he's going to go kill.
It just goes to show you the arrogance of guys in that realm. And I liked, Hawken has a couple of good ones, including the masterpiece one. But when Creasy tries to off himself in the beginning part of the movie, bullet jams. He calls him in the middle of the night, and Walken is, he's like, did I wake you? He's like, no. I'm watching TV. And he's like snickering at himself. And then he said, you ever had something like that happen? And he said, Crease, a bullet always tells the truth. And that's the same bullet that he gives Mark Anthony to fucking kill himself with. But I like that. Walken's got some zingers.
I love
man.
that he's fully asleep and he's like, no, I was watching TV. It's like, what a good friend.
Yeah, dude. Because he knows he's in pain. He knows. He sets him up on this job, trying to get him on his feet. And I think he's just as happy to see him find peace after this with the girl and finally find some purpose. Because I'm sure Walken was probably a lot of those guys that go overseas and do these jobs in the name of our country or whatever. They come back with some fucking scars, man. Mental, physical, you name it. And it's hard to cope. That's why you see all these guys drinking or drugging themselves or having these PTSD moments.
There's the theme that comes out of every one of these stories. You go into it for God and country, and then you do some horrible things and you start to question, hold on, is this even righteous? And then you do it again and you go, are they evil and I'm right? Or am I evil? And you start, like these themes are like, maybe I'm the bad guy. Maybe we're not perfect and they're just another country trying to make it. And we've deemed them an enemy and they're using me as a tool of death. And so these guys start to question themselves. And like you say, like, am I going to make it into heaven? And then the answer is probably no. If you thought you were getting in just because you did what your country told you, that's like superficial.
Well, I think you go into these situations young and you think you're doing the right thing. You don't have all the experience. And a lot of them, like just the military construct, you do what you're told. And so you do that until you get enough experience, and then you start thinking a little bit more for yourself. And these life experiences add up, and then you're able to make your own judgments. And sometimes you don't like what you've become. Let's get into what age the best. I'll start off. Denzel and Dakota's chemistry. Freaking awesome. So one of the reasons I could watch this movie anytime it's on and be like, yep, hang on. Any scene that these two are in, just need a minute. Need to watch this real quick.
What age the best is the question?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's really good. Their chemistry, in fact, their whole relationship and the redemption of his life. And maybe it's kind of an interesting question in my mind. When he thinks she's dead and he goes on the rampage, he's forgotten all of his guilt for what he's done in the past. And now he just doesn't care. And then when he can save her, there's another redemption opportunity. And so that dynamic, both their personal, like the way they came through for each other, and she was like so quick to say, you got the last digit of the license plate, didn't you? And he said yes, and he gives her the book back. And just like the symbolism that goes with that, I think that probably is like the heart of the movie. Like redemption and like loyalty and love.
Yeah.
So good, man.
For me, what aged the best was probably still crime in Mexico City, and especially today, absent parenting. Not so much insurance scams with kidnappings, but not really being there for your kid, letting the iPad watch your kid. And in this scenario, it's just basically not paying enough attention to her, and lessons here and go to school here, and you have a bodyguard, but not actually being super active, being more involved with yourself, like the mom and the dad.
Yeah, they're not actively involved, and that's pretty prevalent today. Probably more than it ever used to be. But granted, I don't know. I mean, I feel like we had pretty good upbringing, and maybe it's just like the culture down there, during that time.
You had an awesome upbringing. Don't undersell it.
Yes, it was awesome. Friends everywhere. Like, I don't know. Those were also the days where it could be like, all right, just come home for dinner, or if you're going to stay out at a friend's house, just call and tell us, like, hey, I'm staying at so-and-so's for dinner. And that's just what you did. It's like today, I feel like you got freaking air tags on kids.
Yeah.
Track where they are. And like, it's a lot more involved now, but it's not like, I don't know. It's not as active because parents want to do their own stuff too. Anyways, Una Palabra, still fucking good.
Yep.
Love that. Any other What Age the Best?
No, I think the whole movie, like, this was a perfect ending movie. There's some movies you make that you can't really do a sequel to, and you maybe know that going in. This may feel like Tony Scott, who tried to make it for all those years and had this vision in mind. He clearly wasn't thinking a series, right?
No. Now, ironically, I'm pretty sure that they're trying to make a series out of this now.
They are.
Yeah.
Netflix.
Somebody's trying to make a series. Is it Netflix?
Yeah.
Okay. You can stretch it out. You can stretch out the plot and get to know characters more in depth, maybe, and you get different perspectives on stuff. This is just such a good, it's a 2.5 hour movie, so it's not a short one, but it's fucking good, man. It's really good. It's because it's got that emotional weight in an action movie, which you don't really see all the time. Usually action, it's just go, 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 go. We get some awesome fight scenes, some explosions. You have a plot line. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it sucks. This one, it's got a little bit of everything, which is why it stands out for us and is always, it's a staple for the Hull House. Let's get into What Age the Worst. I'm going to go with the mom. Like I said, the accents, man. She slips into like Louisiana accent. She slips into like a Texas accent. Like, I can't keep up with the different accents. And then other times she's just like a standard English accent. Like, it doesn't make sense. And I don't know why they didn't like stop her during shooting and be like, okay, say that again, but with less twang this time, because we shot 6 other scenes with you where you sounded normal. I don't get that.
All right, I'll go with Mickey Fat Fuck Rourke. His role was, and you got to get a better actor and somebody whose role down in Mexico would have been a little more believable than him. I'm sure there are brokers of kidnapping, and that's what his role was there. But he played it like he was a cattle rancher, and he was just talking like he sucked in that movie. And I'm glad they cut his head off.
Yeah, my age the worst is Dakota Fanning's career. This was pretty much it. I mean, she's in some new stuff now, but this was it for her. This is her peak.
This is the peak for her, certainly. I don't know. The Rourke thing is interesting. You got to have a hateable guy.
Yes. But you don't need a steroid freak who acts like he's, still in Raging Bull. There's plenty of guys who could have played that role and been equally hateable, but in a way that was a little more authentic. He just seemed like he didn't fit.
What if you get the guy like Lashif from, you know what I'm talking about?
Like that.
Yeah.
Kevin Spacey.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, I got one who could fit in.
This is an ongoing thing. Kevin Spacey, Walken, Al Pacino. There's like 5 or 6 guys that pop up in every podcast.
I like to squeeze Spacey in whenever I can, but a guy that could have played Denzel's role, Liam Neeson.
Probably. Yeah. This is 4 years before Taken, which, similar.
He probably could. I would say maybe not as well, but you could see him doing the full range there and creating a bond with a kid. You could see that, and you could certainly see him doing the killing because we saw him do it in Taken.
Yeah. Is this Denzel's best action performance? You like it better than Equalizer?
I'm going to say For just pure grit and action and violence, no. I like Equalizer better. I like that character. But the depth of this guy, his moral dilemma, his like wish to be accepted, like I don't want to be condemned to hell forever, and then this bond he creates with a girl, and then the rampage he goes on and like goes out the way he wanted to. I think it is one of his top 2 or 3 roles. Of course, I really like Book of Eli also for a lot of reasons, but this is probably the one where I saw the most character development in 90 to 120 minutes, where he's the whole movie, like the entire movie's him. And what is he thinking? What's he doing? Who's he going to kill, or who's he trying to save? It isn't like other movies, like even in Training Day, there's several characters. And in Book of Eli, there's other characters. And what's the other one I'm talking about? The Equalizer. There's other characters that are like equal. Here, he is the movie, and he carries it the entire time and just does a fantastic job.
Yeah. Let's do awards and superlatives. All right. Who's your best supporting role in this?
I'm torn between Christopher Walken and the detective, and I'm going to go with the detective.
Okay.
I think he mixes in more of the authentic, Mexico City element. And I love Christopher Walken, and he's obviously amazing. But I think that detective just does an outstanding job of creating an air. Kind of want him to do what he's doing. I'll follow him. I'll even help him if I can. But I will stay out of his way as well. I don't want to be caught up.
Colin, who you got?
I think the reporter.
Yeah, she's good.
Yeah.
She's good, man.
I'll
go with Walken. I'll go with Walken. I think his little expositions are just crisp and on point. And he helps give a little context and support to Creasy in the first half of the movie. And he sets up basically the war against the cartel there. Most unrealistic scene.
The blowing up of the ass.
That's what I got too.
That's the one that is most unrealistic for me, putting the bomb up his ass.
Rectal bomb and just the 5-minute chill talk afterwards. That's my vote too.
I'm quite sure it's probably fact-based and that they probably could and have done it, but that's there with me. That's the one I pick.
I don't really know if I have one.
Let's do overacting.
The mom.
Get the fuck out of my house!
Yeah, that part. Yes.
That's probably right. I didn't even think about that one. I should have gone with that one. I wrote down Mark Anthony's breakdown moment where he's like, I just inherited my father's debt.
Yeah.
And he starts.
That's right there.
Giving his reasoning for why he agreed to do this kidnapping thing and blah, blah, blah. But you're probably right. It's Rhoda Mitchell telling everybody to get the fuck out of her house. Funniest moment.
There's not a lot of funnies in this movie, but when the reporter says to the detective, he goes, hey, if I give you this, can I come over and we have dinner? Or can I sleep over or something? And she hands him the paper and says, whenever you come over, we don't do any sleeping anyway. And so there was one little funny exchange with those two. That's probably the only funnies in the movie that
it's like one of the first scenes you're meeting Walken, and he's just going classic Walken. He's freaking licking his fingers at the grill. That just makes me smirk because I'm like, fucking Walken, dude, just doing his thing. But you're right, it's not a funny movie. There's a couple of unintentional funny moments. MVP. I mean, do we even need to have a discussion?
We're good on that.
All right, let's do some flex categories. Can Al Pacino or Samuel L. Jackson be in this movie?
No.
I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe Samuel L. Jackson could have had a role somewhere there. I don't get it, but probably not.
No, I don't think so.
Like they're too big of a character, and they're nowhere near Denzel for this role, so I don't think they could.
I just don't see it.
No, I don't see it either. Let's see, I got the Joe Namath Award for is this guy even good at his job? Because Joe Namath inexplicably is somehow in the Hall of Fame and he's got more interceptions and touchdowns just because he played in New York. Maybe the corrupt cops. I mean, they're truly terrible at their jobs. I can't think of anybody else that would be a candidate for that one. Fullest use of a vehicle.
No, Mickey Rourke.
Oh, yes.
I want to give him the Joe Namath Award.
Coolest use of a vehicle.
All right, that's a good one. Coolest use of the vehicle. I would say when the brother comes in with that race car, and he tries to escape in the van, like the Scooby-Doo looking van, and they shoot him, and then he gets him back up in the house, and then when they leave in the race car again that he ends up using to end up getting out where he meets PETA again. I think that's the only time I remember vehicles with Denzel.
Only other scene I could think of is when he's got the first guy, he gets him duct taped into the steering wheel and then pushes the car off the cliff, and it freaking explodes on a beach. A bunch of people are playing volleyball.
He's riding through the city, taking license plates on a scooter.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he's a local, and he's got like the Dodgers jacket on, and he's got a bandana on, and he's mixing in and riding around.
That's pretty cool, man. Good scenes.
That's probably a good one.
Is this the best title for the movie? Could you think of something better?
Probably a lot. I don't even know that Man on Fire has a lot of context for me, but something with vengeance or redemption, something like that in the title would make sense to me.
Let's talk about where it stands today, cultural impact. I would say, so this is 2004. This comes out. I think this inspires movies like Taken, Equalizer, John Wick. I think it cements Denzel as an action icon, not just a dramatic actor, because this is really his first action movie. And then, I don't know that I've ever seen anybody film a movie like that before or since.
Pretty much every movie with The Rock, there's a kid that he's protecting and he beats everybody up. I mean, yeah.
A thing that's unique about this one is it's in Mexico City. You get a lot of the gritty Mexico City look and feel. I think that I didn't pay attention to it till you said it, Shane, that he used 6 different kinds of cinematography. That's not common, I don't think. And so you see like the forest a little bit when they're riding in the car at the end. You see the barrios in Mexico City where he's like in the middle of it, where the brother lives. So for me, it was like that was a glimpse into Mexico City and the kidnapping business that kind of persists even to this day, that I didn't pay too much attention to. This is what opened my eyes to it, and that it is a business. And oftentimes it's just a hijacking for, I'll take the kid and you give me the money and you get the kid back. But clearly they don't always turn out okay.
Legacy-wise, this movie found a bigger audience after the theaters. So DVD, cable, streaming. I mean, this movie's probably been on FX or TNT or TBS, probably, I don't know, a million times since it came out. It's been on
TNT for sure.
And we've talked about this on some other pods before, but you don't really have that now. Post streaming era, which I don't know when that really started kicking off, 2016, 2017, something like that. You lose the rewatch stuff, the stuff that is just on cable, and you can just turn it on, flip through the channels and be like, oh shit, I got 45 minutes left on Man on Fire. This is great. This is where he's going through the nightclub right now. Let's turn it on. You don't have that. So I think that kids growing up today kind of miss out on the ability to just jump into a movie. You got to search for it, which sucks. It sucks.
Yeah, you only had so many choices back in the day. What's on TV? Crap. And now you got the Cheesecake Factory menu. You can just go through everything.
Exactly.
When was the last time you guys have actually gone to a movie theater?
By the way, guys, my phone's going to die soon.
That's okay. We're almost done. Not including taking the kids to go see movies.
Went and saw a movie as an adult. I think it's been 10 years for me.
I was going to say the same thing. Probably 8 to 10 years, and I don't even know what it was.
I think I saw American Sniper was the last one I went and sat in a theater and watched.
It's been a long time, man.
Yeah.
And that was one of my favorite things to do on Friday night, Saturday night.
Yep.
Let's go to the movies. Let's go. There's something great playing or something that looks awesome. Let's go check it out. Yeah, it's been a while, man. It was always a thing, but now it's the only time I go is for kid stuff. And the movies are good, but they're kid movies. It's not Man on Fire shit. Let's talk final score. All right, we'll get our verdict out there. Final score out of 10, 1 being it sucked, 10 being this is one of the greatest ever made. And you can do a point scale, so a 9.2 or something like that.
All right, I'll go
like the Dave Portnoy.
Yes, it is.
It's kind of like that, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go 9.4.
I'm gonna say something pretty close to that. I'm gonna say a 9.0. just for all the great things we've already talked about. I'm sure there could be a 10. I'm trying to think of what would be my number one movie of all time that would be a 10, but this isn't a 10, but it's pretty damn close.
I'm going to give it a 9 too. It's a freaking awesome movie. And you got to, everything is within context. We're talking action movies,
Yep.
vengeance films, revenge films, whatever you want to call it. But it's rare that you get a movie that's this violent and tender. I mean, we've watched it each, I don't know, a minimum of 30 times a piece.
Minimum.
Still get choked up at a lot of the parts. Still, like, there's some movies that you watch where your hair stands on end and you're ready to go to war with the character and take it. And Denzel is just the epitome of that, man. So he put this genre on his back. This is peak Tony Scott, peak revenge. It's just a freaking awesome movie, man. So 9-2 for me.
All right, 9-2 average.
9-2 average, boys. All right. We got to figure out what we want to do next week. I don't know. We'll talk offline on that one, but appreciate you guys joining.
Cool.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Dad.
All right. Good seeing you guys. I hope I didn't embarrass the family. If I did, I'm sure I'll hear about
Not
it.
at all. You did not. You did the best, actually.
All right. Love you guys.
Love you too.
That's going to do it for this week's episode of The Night Shift. Huge thanks to our guests for joining us, especially my dad. Thanks, Pops. And of course, big thank you to all you guys who tune in. Whether you're a longtime friend or just catching up for the first time, we see you and we appreciate you. So thank you. If you missed it, last week on the House Cats Podcast Network, we dropped a few Dealmakers episodes. We interviewed Ryan Brazel of Rosso Commercial. We interviewed Jameson Mullen of USA Mortgage and Justin Santini, our very own house cat, who started his own contracting company, which would be awesome for anybody that's looking for work done around the Maryland area. And last week's Night Shift, we covered Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling in one of the funniest action movies that no one's ever seen, The Nice Guys. So you get an opportunity, get some free time, an hour free, go ahead and pop that one on. That's a fun one. And this week, coming up, we got a great week ahead. It's only Monday. So this week, we're interviewing David DeSantis, COO of TTR Sotheby's International Realty in D.C. Very much looking forward to that conversation. We interview Sean and Jen Degnan of iTrip Annapolis, one of the premier short-term rental agencies in the area. And we also tentatively might be interviewing our very own Nikki Ford, one of our best buds. We'll be back with some more stuff this week. We got a lot in store for you guys. As always, if you like the show, hit that follow button, leave a review, share it with your crew. We're building something fun here. One story, one scene, one shift at a time. Till next time, Night Shift.